This is YG Nyghtstorm. Welcome to my vlog. Let's get it. Life is tough. And just recently, we heard the news, the very, very sad news that Demi Lovato's father just passed away. And they're not going into detail about how he passed, but they say, he was dealing with cancer. And unfortunately, Demi and her dad were estranged. And they had a very, very tough relationship. And this is a topic that a lot of people are dealing with, but they really just don't like to talk about it. About being estranged from their parent or their loved one or even a sibling. But we're going to stick with children and parents on this one. And what's really interesting to me is what Demi said about her dad. Let me make sure I read this quote correctly. She says, the first time I talked to him was about 2 years ago. And I try to have faith in someone, even if you're the last person that believes in him. But when someone lets you down after you've been the only one there for them so many times, you don't know what else to do. I had to cut off all connections because it was hurting me too much. Now, I can say I understand about estranged relationships. If you're no stranger to me and my work, I talk about a lot of different issues in my book, All Action, No Talk. And one of the main things I talk about is relationships with not just your spouse or your significant other, but relationships as far as the aspect of parents and their children. And a lot of times, unfortunately, some parents get in their head where, they are the center of their child's, of their child's universe. And they're supposed to stay the center of their child's universe because they gave birth to this child or they've taken care of this child. But children grow up and start having their own lives. And me raising 7 children, I understand that I am no longer the center of my children's universe. I mean, I used to hold them and bounce them and walk them and, pick them up when they fell, wipe their tears when they cried, change pampers, be there for them. But as the children grew up, I had to let go. I no longer had control of their lives. I'm just simply an advisor. Or they call me when they need some money. But anyway, I want to get back serious with this because a lot of parents, seem to hold on to this control. And some folk like to use the Bible to justify what they do. They want to throw up these Bible verses, and I understand, you want to do that because they teach you this stuff in the Bible. And I'll even bring up a couple of points here, like in Ephesians. It says, honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Okay. Honor thy father and thy mother is all over the Bible. And a lot of parents use this to keep their children in line when they're young. And also they have, some kind of semblance of control over their child while they're an adult. But the one caveat here that a lot of people don't do, they don't read past that verse. And I'm going to read past that verse, and we are still coming out of the book of Ephesians. This is chapter 6, verse 4, okay? Because chapter 1 was honor thy mother and father. Chapter 4 says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Okay, so if we're going to use Bible verses to keep our kids in line, then parents, let's use a Bible verse that says fathers or mothers, let's just say parents, provoke not your children to wrath. And I got another one, I want to come out of Colossians. Even in Colossians, it says, children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto the Lord. And the very next verse, it says, again, Fathers, or we could put parents, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Now, this is very, very important, especially at the end of the last part of verse 21. Lest they be discouraged. Demi Lovato was obviously discouraged about the relationship of her dad and her being estranged from her parent, and he unfortunately passing away before they were able to patch this stuff up. And a lot of us, including myself, have gone through this or is still going through it. I was estranged from my dad for many, many years because he was an absentee father. I love him, but he was not there for me. And he lived his life as though I did not exist. And when he passed away, he completely forgot about me. There was no mention about me or even my younger siblings for any of the things that he wanted to leave behind. He lived as though we, as his children, did not exist. So that created some tension. We were estranged for a reason. And a lot of folks, a lot of my students who I work with are estranged from their mothers. Your mom is supposed to be the first person to ever love you. They carried you in their womb for 9 months, and you're the first voice they hear. And you love your mother. But unfortunately, even moms fall prey to putting too much control over their children, or trying to live their lives vicariously through their kids and wanting their children to be what they want to be instead of allowing this adult child to pursue their own passions and dreams and live their own lives. I've gone through that. And unfortunately, I'm estranged from my mom. And I love my mother. But there were just things that, and I'm not throwing my mom under the bus. Don't get this twisted. I love my mother. But there are things that have been going down for many, many, many years now that I just do not condone, that I don't appreciate, and that I won't tolerate. And I'm an adult now. And it's not just about me, but it's about family, because sometimes with parents, when you as a child get grown and you get married, they still tend to think on using that Bible verse and say, honor thy mother and thy father. And it don't matter that you're married. They expect themselves to be prime in your life, that they are more important than your spouse. This could be no further from the truth. When you get married, and I'm talking to all parents with adult children who are married, because I went through this. My wife went through this. A lot of my students go through this. A man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife. And the wife shall cleave to her husband. Let no man tear asunder. And no man means mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin, best friend, job, car, possession, shoes, purse, money, anything. Tear that union up that God has put together. So if you want to use Bible verses to beat your kids over the head and say, I'm your father, I'm your mother, and I don't care what your wife need, or I don't care what your husband need, you need to take care of me first. I'm sorry. As a parent of 7 children, I chose to be a parent of 7 children. These 7 children did not come here on their own. I helped to usher them in. I sired them in. I chose for them to be here. So it is my responsibility to take care of them. But also know, once they become of age and they are walking their own path, my role, sad as it is reduced to advisor, not dictator. And unfortunately, a lot of couples are going through that with their parents or in-laws, wanting to control them and say, I'm your mama and I don't care what your wife needs. You take care of me before anybody else. And that will single-handedly destroy your marriage. It will destroy the relationship that you have with your parent because you want to do the right thing. And parents, it will destroy your relationship with your child. Just like Demi Lovato said, she was the only one who kept on believing in her dad and the only one that was still there for him. Maybe after he done ran everybody else out of his life, she was still there. So I want to tell you this. Love and honor your parents, because one day you will be a parent. But parents, do not provoke your children to wrath, because it will bring them an incredible amount of distress. We have to keep this balanced. And for all those who are going through this, who are dealing with this pain of being estranged from your parents, from being estranged from your child, you have to look inside. Because I've had to look inside when my father died in 2007, and I had to let it go. But my mother is still alive. And I want to repeat, I love my mother dearly. I appreciate everything that she has done for me. But I also stand my ground and know my place as a husband and as an adult man who is charged with being responsible for his own family and putting the needs of my household before anybody else that's outside. You can love your parents, but you will honor your household, and you will put your spouse first, and you will make sure your children are taken care of. And if you have enough resources, then you can go back and help out people on the outside, and that includes dear old mom and dad. So folks, dealing with this, call your parents and be honest with them. Tell them how much you appreciate them. But stand your ground and say, there are things in my life that I will honor and respect, but you have to honor and respect me too, Mom. You gotta honor and respect me too, Dad. Even if I am not what you want me to be in this life, but I am doing what I feel is right, and I am fulfilling my call on this path. And let me live my life, because I can't live your life. Fix this stuff if you can. Because once a person is dead, it's too late.